Hi, I'm Lao Gao. Today, let's talk about the recent Titan sub incident from a few days back. On the morning of June 18th, US time, 5 wealthy individuals from around the world boarded a ship to the waters where the Titanic sank. They transferred to the Titan submarine from the American company OceanGate and began their deep-sea exploration tour of the Titanic. After diving for about an hour and 45 minutes, the submarine lost contact with the mothership. It was originally planned to dive for 2 hours to reach the Titanic's depth of approximately 3,800 meters. They lost contact with the mothership at around 3,000 meters, close to 3,800 meters. Since the mothership of the Titan was not capable of exploring the Titan, they sent out a distress call. Consequently, the United States Coast Guard and the Canadian military dispatched numerous aircraft and ships to commence a joint rescue operation. The first to arrive at the scene were aircraft, as the site of the Titanic's sinking is very far from the coast, with the nearest shore being the coast of Newfoundland, Canada, approximately 600 kilometers away. The submarine is outfitted with emergency oxygen that can sustain the crew members for up to 96 hours. This oxygen is probably not the bottled hydraulic variety, but instead a chemical-based solid form of oxygen. In the event of an emergency situation, the solid material undergoes a reaction to generate oxygen, which is the intended design. The emergency oxygen on the submarine is similar to that on an airplane. It's not liquid, but solid. After the Canadian patrol plane arrived recently, it began searching the sea surface. Unfortunately, despite covering a large area, the plane didn't find anything floating up. Generally, if a submarine can't surface, there are a few serious possibilities. The first is that it has sunk to the bottom, which could mean it has taken on water or has completely broken apart, which is the most severe situation. Another possibility is that it has become entangled in something on the seabed, but what could possibly entangle it there? The possibility that it is suspended in the sea for some reason is quite small. If it can float, theoretically it should be able to rise to the surface. So based on the results of the first day's exploration, it can be concluded that the situation is dire. If it cannot surface on its own, the problem will be very serious. After 2 days of exploration with no results, on June 20th, the US military reported that they received knocking sounds from the seabed, like a thump, thump, thump noise. Every 30 minutes, the US would receive this sound, not picked up by a ship but by an aircraft. And precisely because it was picked up by an aircraft, it's difficult to determine its location. If it were picked up by a ship's sonar, it would actually be easier to determine the submarine's position because the sonar on ships points downward. If it can receive this thumping sound, it can be determined that the submarine is in a stronger position. However, since it was picked up by an aircraft, it cannot be pinpointed. After the aircraft detected this particular signal, they promptly summoned a ship. Nevertheless, even with the knowledge that the submarine is directly beneath the vessel, the rescue operation remains challenging. The ocean is exceedingly deep, extending below 3,000 meters, and at such depths below 200 meters, visibility is severely limited. Even if a submarine equipped with powerful lights is deployed, the visible range is restricted to no more than 3 meters, rendering the search exceptionally arduous. After more than 80 hours of rescue efforts at 1:18 p.m. on June 22nd, a Canadian pressure robot reported finding the wreckage of the submarine about 488 meters, nearly 500 meters from the bow of the Titanic. There were a total of 5 pieces, all from the pressure hull, which is the section where people sit. These 5 pieces showed severe bending from the outside, indicating they were crushed by water pressure. Later, the exploration team and OceanGate stated that the survival chances for these 5 passengers were almost zero. Among these 5 passengers, 1 individual is an American, the chief executive officer and co-founder of OceanGate, who is also the proprietor of the submarine, named Stockton Rush, aged 61 years. He was serving as the pilot of the Titan on this occasion. It is mentioned that his spouse is a descendant of a Titanic casualty. Additionally, there is a Frenchman named Paul-Henri Nargeolet, aged 77 years, who is highly renowned as an expert on the Titanic, and he holds the rights to salvage the Titanic. He has led expeditions multiple times to salvage the wreckage and artifacts from the Titanic, making him a frequent visitor of the Titanic. There is also a British man named Hamish Harding, who is a businessman, pilot, and adventurer. He is 58 years old and has a passion for exploration, often venturing into the deep sea, space, and the polar regions. In 2022, he even went to space on the spacecraft of Amazon's CEO, Jeff Bezos. It holds 2 world records related to the deep sea. These records were set simultaneously on March 5, 2021, when it descended in a submarine to the Challenger Deep in the Mariana Trench, the deepest part of the ocean, at a depth of 10,000 meters. At this location, it set 2 world records, one for the longest time spent at the ocean's deepest point, 4 hours and 15 minutes, and another for the longest distance traveled at the ocean's deepest point, 4.6 kilometers. This means it is the person who has stayed the longest and traveled the farthest at the ocean's deepest point. Additionally, there are 2 others, a father and son, with the father named Shahzada Dawood. He is 48 years old and holds dual nationality of Pakistan and the UK. He is one of the wealthiest in Pakistan and a member of the Dawood family. His son, who is also on the ship, is 19 years old and a student named Sulaiman Dawood. The Dawood family's wealth dates back to his great-great-grandfather, who was extremely wealthy. They belong to the Memon community. The Memon community can be understood as the equivalent of Jews in the South Asian region of India and Pakistan. Jews are identified by their religion, meaning if you practice Judaism, you are Jewish, but Memons are identified by their regional origins. A long time ago in that particular region, individuals were referred to as Maimons, and they were especially adept in business endeavors. Over time, this led to the common saying that Maimons are entirely engrossed in business and that they are all affluent. Shahzada from a young age possessed a profound love for nature, the universe, and the deep sea, which led him to frequently embark on adventures and become an adventurer. On this occasion, he brought his son along, which also signifies something. Perhaps his son also enjoys these things, or he wants to cultivate his son's interest in this area, so this time they participated in the Titanic travel project. It is a 7-night, 8-day travel project, but most of the time is spent on shore, with only 8 hours of diving time on the ship. The cost is $250,000 per person, which is very expensive. At present, the United States Coast Guard continues to search for remains and other debris, although the extensive search operation has already concluded. In my opinion, the likelihood of discovering remains is minimal, and even if they are located, retrieving them could prove challenging due to the significant depth of the area. Regarding the cause of this incident, based on the condition of the wreckage, it appears that the main issue could be the submarine itself. The Titan submarine is a submersible vessel constructed by the American corporation OceanGate. It measures approximately 6.7 meters in length with a diameter ranging from 2.5 to 2.8 meters and has a weight of 9.5 tons. The primary materials used in its construction are carbon fiber and titanium alloy. Due to its relatively light weight, it requires ballast to descend to the ocean floor. Otherwise, it would naturally rise to the surface. Consequently, if it fails to ascend, it signifies a significant issue. The submarine appears quite impressive from the exterior, but its internal structure is not particularly intricate, being essentially a cylindrical barrel in design. There are also relatively few advanced electronic devices. In the front, there is a window that can be used to observe outside. The hatch of the cabin is bolted from the outside, so it cannot be opened from the inside. On the outside of the hull, there are 4 electric motors that propel it at a speed of up to 5 to 6 kilometers per hour in deep sea, which is just a bit faster than walking speed. A major selling point of this submarine is that it can dive below 4,000 meters and accommodate the most people, as it can hold 5 people. However, typical submarines that can dive below 4,000 meters usually only accommodate 2 to 3 people. Most can only accommodate 2 to 3 people. Of course, worldwide there are only a dozen or so submarines capable of diving below 4,000 meters, distributed among various countries. However, aside from the Titan, all other submarines capable of diving to this depth have national backing, meaning they are designed and manufactured by national professional institutions. Their safety has also been tested by the state, except for this one, which has not undergone national testing. Theoretically, designing a submarine of this level requires national-grade design capabilities. You might think that Elon Musk can build rockets and space capsules, but actually, the technical difficulty of making a rocket is slightly lower than that of making a submarine that can go below 4,000 meters. However, building a rocket is still very challenging. So, since this submarine hasn't been certified by national agencies, why is it allowed to operate? OceanGate, the company, claims that their submarine is an experimental model. They also emphasize that this submarine can dive below 4,000 meters and has already passed their company's own tests. The most crucial point is that this submarine operates in international waters. Therefore, it is not subject to the laws of any particular country. As for who actually designed the Titan submarine, there is indeed some controversy. OceanGate claims that this submarine was jointly designed by them, NASA, Boeing, and the University of Washington. Following this incident, the initial response from the University of Washington was to assert that they had never engaged in any collaboration with OceanGate. Boeing similarly mentioned that they are not partners with OceanGate and did not partake in the design of the Titan. Regarding NASA, they did have a Space Act agreement with OceanGate, but this particular agreement is unrelated to the submarine. OceanGate simply claims that they adhere to NASA's regulations. It is a type of agreement associated with the regulations governing space development. Therefore, this issue should genuinely have no connection with NASA, Boeing, or the University of Washington. OceanGate is a company established in 2009 specializing in providing deep-sea submersibles for ocean exploration, research, and tourism. The company has a total of 3 submarines, one of which was purchased and 2 were self-built. The self-built ones are called Cyclops 1 and Cyclops 2. Cyclops 1 can dive to 500 meters and Cyclops 2 can dive to 4,000 meters. Later, Cyclops 2 was renamed Titan, which is the vessel involved in the incident. In 2019, the company announced plans to build this vessel. The company that has Cyclops 3 and IV, which can dive to 6,000 meters, once had a safety consultant named David Lockridge. In a 2018 safety report, he pointed out that the glass manufacturer for the company's second submarine stated that their glass could only withstand water pressure up to 1,300 meters. This means that the company providing the glass for the observation window did not believe it could withstand depths below 3,000 meters. Therefore, Lockridge urged the company to conduct a safety certification for the vessel. The company ended up firing this person, which laid the groundwork for today's hidden danger. Of course, it cannot be confirmed that the accident was definitely caused by the glass, since this submarine has dived many times before. Now, another significant possibility is metal fatigue. Metals working in such harsh environments might experience fatigue due to prolonged use, leading to a decrease in their strength. Generally, a submarine's strength is at its highest during its first dive, and it gradually decreases thereafter. This accident might have been due to insufficient regular inspections. There is currently some information that shortly after the submarine dived, a US military submarine detected an explosion sound in this area. This suggests that the submarine might have dived to a depth of over 3,000 meters, and at that point the signal was lost and an explosion occurred. This explosion was not outward but likely inward, as the pressure was too great and crushed it instantly. At a depth of 3,800 meters, the water pressure is 380 atmospheres, equivalent to 380 kilograms of weight per square centimeter, like having the weight of a sumo wrestler on a fingertip, which would certainly be crushed instantly. The maximum atmospheric pressure a human body can withstand is 18 atmospheres, which is significantly different from 380. This means if there is a weight of 380 kilograms per square centimeter, what would be the total weight on the entire body? Considering the human skin surface is about 2 square meters, the combined weight would be 7,600 tons. So if 7,600 tons of pressure were applied from all directions onto the human body, it would be crushed instantly. So if the submarine really got crushed and exploded, it would have happened in an instant, similar to an explosion, changing everything immediately. The passengers inside would likely have experienced it in an instant too, and any pain would have ended just as quickly. Therefore, the later knocking sound might not have anything to do with the submarine. However, what exactly that knocking sound was is still unknown. So this incident is 100% a human error. If the submarine itself hadn't passed the test, then the occurrence of the accident was almost inevitable. Of course, the owner of the submarine design company went down with the submarine, so his personal responsibility might not be pursued anymore. However, the remaining 4 people seem a bit innocent. These successful individuals probably encountered green lights throughout their lives, right? That's how they achieve success step by step. Just like that father and son from Pakistan. They might have been born with a big green light, but people often say that once you hit a major red light, it's over. So the key in life is to avoid these red lights. Everyone should steer clear of risky activities. While the spirit of adventure is great, if you want a peaceful life, it's best not to engage in dangerous activities. Certainly, some individuals suggest that this is a curse associated with the Titanic, as both the Titanic and this Titan submarine submerged due to human-related factors, and the underlying reasons are quite similar. It has already been uncovered that there were certain concealed dangers within the hulls, which set the stage for these 2 vessels named Titan to sink in the identical location. This could indeed be a curse. There are numerous untold narratives about the Titanic. In the future, we'll create a special video to share with all, so let's wrap up for today. See you next time, bye!